All right, what's going on, guys? Okay, Project Kove still underway, still making it happen. Got a lot going on in the garage, but we are on the tail end of it. And today's video, super quick, we're going to be talking about sprockets and gearing. So very interesting as far as what's available out there, and I'm going to share with you what works in this video. So stay tuned and let's check it out. All right, so let's jump right into this. Ratios. There's a ton of different videos out there of what's the best ratio and what could you run. And I mean, it's almost like asking what oil to run on a bike. I don't know, or could be. So let's keep this video really, really short. Not going to go into big explanations. I'm just going to go into what I found out on the Kove and what you guys need to know if you're looking at purchasing sprockets for this thing. So I decided to go with a 14-tooth front sprocket because I don't like the idea of that 13-tooth and how the chain has to wrap around that. It is a tighter radius, meaning the chain is going to have to, as it comes in, it's going to have to bend more to get around that sprocket. So this is the stock 13-tooth sprocket that came off of the Kove, so you can see the diameter of it. On this particular one, and you can see why I'm replacing it, is that the teeth are starting to heel over, they're starting to pull over. That's normal, standard issue. It's what happens when a sprocket wears out. So seen some pretty good fail videos of these things. You know, my clutch is slipping. Nah, you just don't have any teeth on the sprocket, or you have very little teeth and it's enough to where it'll actually click, you know. So anyway, so 13 tooth is what comes on the bike stock up front. Out back, it's going to be a 49 tooth, netting you a 3.76 ratio, so 3 and about 3/4. So 3.76 revolutions of this equals 1 revolution out back. And then if you go to a 14 tooth, which I did in this case, so this is a 14 tooth sprocket, you can see the difference in diameters. If I put them one up on the other, you can see it's a pretty noticeable difference. So maybe a little bit hard to see on camera, but it is a pretty big difference. This sprocket, being the lightened version of it, is actually, even though it's got more teeth, is very light compared to this thing. So definitely a few grams missing there. I'll drop it in the comments. I'll go weigh these here after I'm done recording, so you guys can get an idea of what the weight is on that. So anyway, okay, 14 tooth front sprocket. Again, wanted a bigger diameter. And then, well, got to figure out the ratios, right? Because you got to try and keep it stock. That's what I wanted to do, is just kind of keep a stock ratio for now. So going with the 14 tooth means going with a 52 tooth out back. So back sprocket, 52 teeth, netted me a ratio of 3.71. So if you remember, 3.76 or 3.76 means 3.76 revolutions of this to get 1 revolution out of the rear sprocket. Now, if we're talking about the front, or with this setup, we're down to 3.71. So only about 0.05 difference in rotation of this one versus that. Now, is it enough to notice a difference? Maybe. Second gear might feel just a little taller. I did this before on other bikes. I actually went the other way around and got the comment, like 1 tooth on the rear sprocket. Not really sure what that the equivalent is on that, but going 1 tooth larger just on the rear sprocket, not a big change. But a comment from somebody that had no idea that I had done it was that the bike just felt a little bit peppier than the other ones that they had ridden. And that was it. Then, you know, so could you notice it? Possibly. Okay. So, but wait, where do you get a 14 tooth, right? That's the key. Is I was recommended, told that the JT sprockets, or what would be basically the JT 715, is the one to go. So you can see it here. You can see there's spacing on both sides, and that is the JTF 715. This is the stock Kove right here. You can see spacing only on one side. So after hours of digging, we found the correct sprocket. So spline data and everything. By the way, huge shout out, no affiliation on this one. Huge shout out to JT Sprockets. They have all their spline data and all that. If you haven't been into their catalog is absolutely awesome. They have the spline data on this. So once I knew what the 715 was, then it just took a matter of going through the catalog pretty much one by one, looking at all the 450s and all that stuff. So, okay, let's get to the important part. JTF sprockets, JT front sprocket. This is the 707, JTF 707. I'll drop a link down in the description if you guys want to purchase these. It is the 14-tooth lightened front sprocket for the Kove 450 Rally. It has the same profile. This sprocket is from the, and let me open the catalog here. This sprocket is from the Aprilia 450 MXV and 550 RXV. The years on the MXV specifically for the 14-tooth are 2010 to through 2012. And for the 15-tooth, which was, I guess, standard on the 450 RXV, 450 SXV, and 550 RXV and 550 SXV, through 2006 and 2012. So again, that's the JTF 707. There's a bunch of different manufacturers out there, but those are basically the bikes that this sprocket fits. So it's not a lot of bikes. These are literally, if you look at like the Austrian bikes, like say for instance your rear sprocket on these is the JTR or JTA rear, which is going to be a 897. Now, if you look at the catalog and you look at that stuff, or those of you already know, is that the rear sprocket is basically the same sprocket that fits all the Austrian bikes through multiple years. So there's a ton of different ones out there. I got a 53 just to give it a shot. Looks a little bit tall. We'll see. The only thing I didn't like is it did suck up the chain pretty close. It sucked everything in pretty close and shortened the wheelbase quite a bit. By going with 1452 and getting that 371 ratio, I was able to maintain the wheelbase more or less in the ballpark. I know that the chain is going to break in a little bit and it's going to give me a little bit more slack, so I'm going to have to lengthen the wheelbase a little bit to take up the slack, which I'm okay with. So that will be coming soon, but basically we ended up again 3.76 is your stock ratio, going 1452, ended up with a 3.71. But you're also going to need a chain if you're going to do that, because the chain is needing to be longer because of the increased contact area, the increased diameter of this and the rear sprocket. You're going to need to add about 2 links. So I ended up with the 118 link DID chain. So we use that at the other manufacturer that I work for. The other dealership that I work for, we use it very specifically on those German bikes. Been a great chain. It worked very, very well. The longevity of it is very nice. I've seen upwards of 18,000 miles when properly taken care of. So speaking of maintenance, super quick side note, there's again, what chain lube to run, how to clean your chains. There's a ton of different videos on that one. So in closing, don't forget to do your chain services. Going with something like this, increasing the diameter on the front sprocket, increasing the diameter on the rear sprocket is really going to net you larger diameters. It's going to get you a slightly longer service interval because of the diameter of this. The chain doesn't have to bend as much to get around this same out back. Not only that, but then you just added 2 links to the length of the chain, which means now you've got 118 links doing the work of 116 links. So, well, usually, because we all know that one guy at work. Anyway, okay, so that's a wrap. Let's get to it. I'm going to go weigh these things. Check out the description. I will have the weight in there so you guys know what the difference in weight is, because I can literally, just by feeling them, I can tell you that it's smaller. So don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff. If you found this information useful, or if you have other questions, hey, I've been trying to find this, I don't know how to do that, drop them in the description. I'm happy to do some research. It keeps me from buying more things and spending more money, so I appreciate that. And we will see you guys soon. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.